all those things will eventually fade away. But his words, his promises, his truth, never. Good morning, y'all, and almost Happy New Year, y'all. Welcome to Coffee with Connect. We get together on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 9:30, and we get into God's Word together with our coffee. My mug today is a Yeti mug with the Connect Church logo and the website on there. So I hope that you've got your mug. I hope that you've got your coffee. And thanks for jumping on here, which is a week that usually everybody just kind of chills and, kind of gets away from some stuff and maybe relaxes. Maybe that's you, maybe that's not this week. But we're going to get back into the Gospel of Mark as we're going through that. I hope that you and your family had an awesome Christmas. But, as we come to the end of the year, we tend to look back, what we walked through, what we learned, what we wish maybe went differently, what surprised us. But the passage we're looking at today, Jesus really invites us to look forward with clarity, with confidence, with keeping our head up, being alert. And he gives us this kind of, I'm going to frame it as a year-end reminder for us that disciples of Jesus, really we need to be people who recognize the season that we're living in. So we're going to pray, read, think, write, do. A 5-step process that we've been using and we're going to continue to use as we wrap up the year and head in to 2026. So we're going to be in Mark chapter 13, verses 28 through 31 as we're getting close to the end of the chapter of Mark 13. But we're really kind of closing out this section as Jesus is talking about some end time stuff. So I hope that you've prayed. Now let's read. Mark 13, 28 through 31 says this. Now learn this lesson from the fig tree. As soon as its twigs get tender and its leaves come out, you know that summer is near. Even so, when you see these things happening, you know that it is near, right at the door. Truly, I tell you, this generation will certainly not pass away until all these things have happened. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. So Jesus, as he does, teaches in parables, and he teaches a short parable about learning a lesson from the fig tree that, when the twigs get tender, the leaves come out, summer is getting close. And everybody in the region understood this. A fig tree could look really barren and lifeless for a lot of the year, but when it began to sprout and when you began to see the signs, you knew warmth was coming. You knew life was coming. You knew growth was coming. And he's essentially saying to us as believers, don't be caught off guard. Pay attention. There's going to be signs when God is moving, signs that his plan is unfolding. And just like the fig tree announces a new season, Jesus says that the events that he's been talking about, if you go back to all the previous episodes that we've looked at, this chapter especially, the visible things, the recognizable things, the impossible to ignore stuff, we need to pay attention. And he's reminding us, his disciples and us, God's story is not drifting. History is not random. The future is not uncertain because we know who holds the future. We know that God is guiding all things to his purpose and that his return is not just some imaginary fairy tale for adults or symbolic. It's a real promise that we can anchor ourselves in our hope and our faith in as we end this year and head into the next one. And Jesus adds this phrase that a lot of times gets misunderstood and that people get lost in the weeds on when he says, truly, I tell you, this generation certainly will not pass until all these things have happened. Now I'll just take a slight detour for just a quick second, because when he says this generation, I will say this, that it could refer to several things. The generation that sees the beginning of the end times, the ongoing generation of humanity that he was talking to right then and there that rejects Jesus, the Jewish people themselves who will remain until the end. Could be a combination of all those things. And as I said, we can get lost in the weeds of interpretation here. And so that's as far off as I'm going to go on that, because that's not the point of what we're getting to. And I don't believe that that was the point of what Jesus was really getting to here. His main point was that God's plan never stalls and his word never expires, which is why his final statement is right after that. He says, heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. And this is what anchors the entire passage. Everything in our world, governments, nations, trends, technology, even our own plans, all those things will eventually fade away. But his words, his promises, his truth, never. And as we stand, at the end of the year and on the edge of a new year, this really matters. The things that we've gone through this year, temporary things, frustrating things for sure, awesome things, unexpected things, awful things. But Jesus' words are never going to pass away. The most important things in your life are not necessarily the things that changed this year. It's the things that God says will remain true. His faithfulness did not expire. His love didn't weaken. His presence didn't fade. His promises are not, they don't get outdated. His word doesn't lose power. Jesus is saying, build your life on what lasts. So what's God saying to you through this? As you come to the end of this year, we're looking toward the new year. What's God saying to you as you reflect and as you look forward? And then what do? Well, the challenge I had for the church was to reflect Jesus in all that we do. But I think there's a question for us here from this passage that we need to ask ourselves. I think we need to identify what season we're in, right? So what season are you stepping into? And are you paying attention to what God's doing? The fig tree didn't bloom instantly, but when change came, it was visible. God might be preparing something in you, softening something in you. Maybe he's calling you to wake up spiritually into this new year, to lean in, to listen to him more carefully, to be more resilient. He wants us as his followers to be awake spiritually, not numb, not indifferent, not distracted. See, this isn't just an end times message for us. It's an end of year message as well. And so before the year ends, here's my do for you. Here's my challenge. Take some time to reflect with the Lord and ask him a couple of things. Ask him, God, what are you teaching me right now? I would encourage you to just take 20 minutes away from anybody and everybody. Turn your phone off, all the things that will get you distracted. And just ask, God, what are you teaching me right now? Not only through this past year, but even leaning into, and then what do you want to grow in me as I step into this new year? Write down whatever comes to mind, and then go for it. You can, but he can, and he will, if you just lean on his power. And so let this be the first step into a spiritually awake new year for you. So thanks for joining me, and I hope that you'll like the video, you'll subscribe to the channel, share this with someone that needs it, and join me again here next time so we can have our coffee and connect to Christ's community, purpose, and God's word together. See you next year.